Alright, in this video we're going to look at how to create a basic sketch and set up our workspace environment to the metric system. So I am unsure where you left off your three-dimensional environment when you were playing around last time, and one of the first things I'm going to ask you to do is isolate your view to just the right plane. So using your widget you can click on right, or I think you can double click on the right here. So if I double click on right, I can see it highlights the plane, but if I want to actually view the plane straight on, I need to click the right on the widget. So go ahead, in this video series you want to make sure you're following along and doing with me. So take a minute to pause right here, isolate your view to just the right screen, or sorry, the right plane, and then come back and keep going along with me. So go ahead, pause, and actually do that please. Once you have the right plane selected, come up into the menu, the three little lines up here, the document menu, and come on down to workspace units. We're going to switch the default length unit from inch to millimeter. It's a lot easier to build these things in millimeters because we can measure them with our rulers fairly simple and accurately. We'll hit the check mark to accept, and then we should be ready to go. So a sketch can be drawn on any of these three planes. We're going to choose the right plane to draw on, so we're going to select the right plane and then hit sketch. This assigns the sketch to the right plane, and we can see that there's a sketch box showing up called sketch 1 and our plane view right. You want to make sure that your screen looks like this before continuing. So please make sure you are on the right plane and that you have the sketch 1 box showing up. If you do not have this, please step back by using the Control Z button to undo, and again use the widget to bring your view into the proper plane, and then click on the plane right and then click on the sketch button, which was up here. Okay, so take a minute, pause, do that, and then come back to the video. Thinking back to our bracket, it's pretty much a rectangle with rounded ends, and that rounding at the ends is known as filleting. So what we can do is start by building our basic shape with a rectangle and coming up here and grabbing the rectangle tool, the corner rectangle, and just drawing out a rectangle on our page. And when I draw out the rectangle on my page, I can see I have measurement boxes that show up. Before I can click on those, I have to hit G or turn off the rectangle tool, otherwise I'm just going to keep drawing rectangles. So I'm going to hit G on my keyboard, and I suggest you do the same to select that rectangle. We're going to come back and do the measurements later on, and in this part of the video we're just going to look at filleting or curving out the edges here to make them more rounded, more in line with that bracket we looked at earlier. So if I select the top line, I can see it's going to highlight yellow, and I select it. And I select my second line. You can see right now my mouse pointer has a 1. So if I select my second line, I have a 2. I can come up here and use what's known as the sketch fillet. Shift F for the hotkey. I find it easier just to hit the button. And what's going to happen is, you have to hit the button first and then sketch it. You're going to get this little arrow. And you can adjust the radius of the corner. We're just going to let it sit at what it's at currently, and we'll sort of double click to accept it or hit enter, and that will assign the filleted edge. We'll come back and play with the radius after, and we'll just accept what we have for the dimensions. Okay. So with the filleting tool selected, select the next corner by selecting the two lines that intersect and double clicking to accept the fillet or hitting enter. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and do that to all 4 corners. I'm just going to use my enter key, it's a little faster, and actually I don't know if the double clicking is going to work. Oh, it did in that case. And now we can see that we have a rectangle with rounded corners. Okay, so that's it for this video. We covered how to isolate our view plane to the right, how to create a sketch, how to change our document workspace up here in the top, and how to create a rectangle and fillet its edges. Join me in the next video as we begin to start applying constraints and measurements to actually create the bracket that we want to. Okay, at this point in time it's probably a really good idea to assign our dimensions to our rectangle, and we're going to use the dimensions tool up here, which is D. So you can either click on the dimensions tool or click the D hotkey on your keyboard. When I click on this line, you'll notice that it only goes from this point here, the start of my fillet, to the other end, the start of my other fillet. And that's not exactly the measurement I want. I want the entire measurement from left to right. So to do that, I'm going to click on the leftmost edge once, and then I'm going to click on the right edge, and you'll notice that my arrows now go vertical. It's very beneficial to put your measurements in the middle. Putting them off to the side, sometimes you miss them, or sometimes you can get too crowded. So I'm going to place this measurement right in the middle, and rather than leaving it at whatever my rectangle is created at, I'm going to input the length of 90 millimeters and hit enter. That will adjust my rectangle. I'm going to repeat this process of using the dimension tool to click on the top and the bottom, and then dragging out to the right. Again, centering my measurement and typing in the value of 27. So we're already starting to look pretty similar to what our bracket was looking like in our first video. And at this point, I'm going to click on my measurement tool to turn it off. And now you can see I can click on 90 and pull it down so it's not so far up in the sky, and pull my 27 over so that I can zoom in and still see my measurements at the same time. Okay. So go ahead, make sure you're following along with us, pausing, keeping up, and if you have any questions, please let me know in class. And in the next video, we're going to look at how to start getting these fillets a little more accurate, and then we'll start applying the basic construct of the shapes themselves for the cutout.